Finally, Ash has a Greninja. Pokemon! 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 Hello everyone, I'm Dustin Benzel, and welcome to another Pokemon XY anime discussion. So, we have a little bit to discuss. I don't know how long this episode's going to be, but I have a summary, some notes, and of course some other things that we need to talk about. So let's just jump right into this particular episode. So anyway, it starts off right after the last episode. Team Rocket, or rather Meowth, accidentally captures Serena and Shinobu, who's the female ninja. But with some special ninja technique, Shinobu escapes with Serena. This makes me question something real quick, and my understanding of ninja techniques is not that very good. I just accept it as anime related or whatever. But you know, I have to wonder: is these ninja techniques, are they like supernatural or like superhuman abilities or like something like magic, or is it all just being about the master of illusions or whatever? Because if it was just about magic or just illusions per se, then how did Shinobu escape with Serena using that ninja technique where they basically turned into two giant log things or whatever, you know? So yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can explain it to me in the comments below. Maybe it is just some illusion technique, but it's still kind of weird. But I think it is like some sort of replacement ninja technique or something like that, where you replace yourself with another thing. But is that some sort of magical thing? I mean, I know Naruto has like magical abilities or supernatural abilities like Rasengan, I believe, or whatever. So I don't know. Anyway, so after that happens, the Skarmory of the ninja army that attacked the ninja village to begin with actually blasts off Team Rocket, and it's the last time we ever see them in this episode. So I guess for those who don't like Team Rocket, hey, Team Rocket were irrelevant to this episode. Except for that beginning thing that happened before the opening theme. So anyway, Ash and Senpai are directly battling against Hidayu's B-Sharp, and they don't actually do so good. And before Hidayu can seriously hurt Ash and Senpai's Pokemon, you know, Pikachu, Frogadier, and Greninja, B-Sharp uses this attack, and it's blocked by none other than Saizo's Barbarical. There you go. Sorry, I figured how to pronounce it in my room when I was making these notes, but I just completely forgot. So anyway, but you know that move that B Sharp used, that purple glowing ball thing that's flew across the ground and looked like pretty epic, and something that we probably haven't seen in any episode so far, at least of that type of animation. And that was because apparently, according to Bulbapedia, I don't know if there are other people that have said this, but apparently that giant purple ball is none other than the move Snarl, which we haven't seen since it was introduced in 5th generation, and it was one of the moves that you can only get with a special Zoro arc, I believe, until Black 2, White 2 made it a TM or something like that. I remember Snarl was one of the hard moves and extra moves that was included. I don't know if it was a TM, maybe it was a TM, but yeah, it was definitely something that, of course, hadn't happened in the anime yet. So if it is Snarl, it's pretty interesting. So anyway, when Saizo kicks into high gear to battle B Sharp and, you know, deal a lot of damage to B Sharp, that's when the ninja army, of course, escape, leaving everyone unsure of what was going on, you know, because the village elder has been taken, so they don't know how to proceed or whatever. So anyway, everyone ends up talking into a house or a hut or whatever you want to call those particular buildings or whatever, where they just like gather intel of where the village elder is, and this is of course where they reveal the identity of Kagitamo. And of course, because I don't speak a Japanese, this entire thing is just speculation, but from my perspective of events, from what I see and what could infer from the actions that they were doing and the tone in their voices, I'm assuming that Kagitama wanted to be a special individual within the village, the head, the leader, known as the strongest, or whatever the case was. But due to what I assume are Kagitama's personality traits and ex- characteristics, the village elder denies his request and either kicks Kagitamo out of the village for his actions or for his hot-headedness, or Kagitama runs away like a sore loser. Whichever one of those applies, I think, is what happened, but I'm not entirely sure. The interesting about all of this, however, is that Hanzo, I believe, who is the village elder, I believe, is apparently Shinobu was listed. Uh, Shinobu, the female ninja, was listed, but unfortunately, I lack the context of wondering why it appears, because I would assume Shinobu is roughly around the same age as Hanzo, the village elder. So if Hanzo was like dying or something, maybe Shinobu would take over as village elder. But at the same time, Shinobu is as old as well. So maybe the disguise ninja technique that Shinobu is using, maybe it wears off eventually, that she can't use it when she reaches a certain age, and that was the case with Hanzo could have looked younger and virile, but he couldn't because he expired past the expiration date, I guess. I don't know. I will definitely know what was being said when subs come out in like a week and a half or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 years. When X, Y, and Z is over with and we're in seventh generation, probably when subs will come out. Just kidding. But it did take a while for the Puny Chan Dream episode for subs to come out. So anyway, so when the subs come out and in a future episode, if this pops up, if this comes up, maybe Hanzo passes away or something and Shinobu is the village elder maybe, or something of that nature, maybe I will discuss what was said then. But for right now, maybe I'll put something in the comment section when subs come out, maybe if I remember. Anyway, while they're discussing this in Kagetamo, Senpai and Ash apparently want to rush after to get the village elder back, and oh, by the way, I definitely apologize for referring to the village elder in my previous video as Ninja Village. I think I meant to say Ninja Village Elder, but I kept saying Ninja Village. There were only a few times that I actually said Elder, so I definitely apologize. But hey, it's funny, I guess, that I kept calling him Ninja Village. But anyway, the Elder. So Senpai and Ash wanted to go after the village elder, and they were stopped by Ippei, Saizo, and Clement. And I believe they said something along the lines of they can't just rush into things and that they need to plan ahead. And of course, they don't know where Kagitamo took Hanzo, the village elder. So of course, they're gonna have to wait until they actually learn. So they don't really like it, but they accept that it's something that has to happen. So anyway, Kagitama is talking with the village elder, and Ippei is mentioned or something. I think this is a mention that Ippei is like the strongest of the ninja village, and he's like lining up to be something important within the village. So then, of course, uh, then when a ninja with a simian stage leaves or whatever, and Haidayu mentions or notices this, Kagitama asks Haidayu to get Ippei for him, and so they can like battle to see who's the strongest, apparently, or something like that. So that may have been what the issue was. Kagitama just wasn't strong enough to be the important person Kagitama wanted to be. But I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point. So anyway, everyone in the house tries to go after Kagitama to rescue the village elder. But then Haidayu shows up with some of his with some of the ninja army, the ninjas there. They're not wearing Pokemon masks this time. They're just wearing these basic head shrouds, basically, where their face is covered, but you can see their eyes or whatever. So then, of course, a fight ensues, of course, and then, of course, everyone gets involved. Serena uses Braixen, Clement uses Luxray, Shinobu uses Liepard, Nihei uses Venusaur, Sanpai and Ash end up battling against Haidayu and his B-Sharp using Frogadier, Pikachu, and Greninja. While that's happening, Ippei and Saizo are directly going after Kagitamo and the village elder. So basically, Ash and everyone else is just running interference so that the other two can get to the village elder. So of course everyone is attacks are blasting off. Ippei ends up battling against Kagitamo's Weavile, and of course Ash and Sanpai are struggling against Haidayu because Haidayu is like really strong. Then near the climax of this battle, Haidayu's B-Sharp goes in with Shadow Claw on Pikachu, which was actually a little bit surprising because the fact that Haidayu actually directly targeted Pikachu must have meant that Pikachu was the strongest Pokemon there. I think Haidayu may have noticed that Pikachu was the strongest Pokemon there, possibly, but I'm not really sure. It could have just been Haidayu just going after a random Pokemon. But anyway, Ash's Frogadier comes in and blocks the attack that we've seen in the preview, and that's of course when it evolves. And as I said in the past video, this is one of the most epic evolution sequences we get. Unfortunately, one criticism that I have to say is that this should not have happened the way that it did. What happened was the moment that Frogadier started to evolve is when we ended the halfway episode and we got like the Daredevil, who's this Pokemon sequence where I think it was Greninja or whatever, and then afterwards the evolution sequence happened. This happened with in 5th generation with Ash's Swadloon evolving to Leavanny. I don't really like those cuts because I feel like it takes away from what's actually happening. I mean, it is a little bit of a cliffhanger or whatever, I guess you could say, like a separated cliffhanger, a commercial cliffhanger, an opening cliffhanger. You know, it's like, ooh, what's gonna happen? Oh no, it's gonna wait until the. It kind of like what they do in American TV shows. You know, like American Idol, and they get to like this part, and they're like, and the winner of this year's competition is. Find out next after commercials. Darn it! You know, it's kind of like that. That's exactly what happened, but I feel like it kind of disjointed what happened. I felt like Haidayu should have gone in with his Shadow Claw, and as Frogadier blocked it, I think that's when it should have cut to the mid-break with commercials and stuff or whatever it was. But anyway, after it evolves in that awesome way with the torrent of water, that's when, of course, Ash uses his Pokedex on Greninja to see what it learned and stuff or whatever. And then the battle continues. Shinobu, Nihei, Serena, and Clement end up defeating the random ninjas Pokemon. Like, there was Gengar, I think there was Ariados, and those Pokemon. But then, of course, Kagitamo and Ippei are still battling, and then of course Ash uses Pikachu and Greninja, who learned Water Shuriken, obviously, based on the opening and of course what we expected. So Ash has Pikachu use Electro Ball, B-Sharp manages to block that, but then of course Greninja uses Water Shuriken, Ash's anyway, and that's when it dealt a direct hit on B-Sharp and dealt some serious damage. But anyway, before I continue on at this particular point, I think it's kind of hilarious that at the battle actually belongs to Ash battling against Haidayu, while Senpai is just standing there as a support, like, don't worry, Ash, you've got this. You're Greninja and Pikachu, you can do this. But if you get in trouble, then I'll interfere or I'll join in. But at this point, Senpai is just kind of irrelevant at this point. So anyway, Haidayu orders another Shadow Claw, and of course we get the glimpse that we expected, that we should have expected, And of course, that was of course the glimpse of Ash Greninja. Right after Haidai, you Shadow Claw, we got that sequence where Ash and Greninja were in sync completely. Their motion, their actions were copying each other. Greninja's eyes were glowing, and then of course we get that torrent of water where we got Ash Greninja, and then of course Ash Greninja used Cut and pretty much defeated B Sharp. But of course afterwards, B Sharp, or not B Sharp, Greninja returned back to normal. Now what's interesting is at the beginning of this, when this happened, Ash was the only one that wasn't surprised that this happened. Uh, we got face reactions from I think all the other characters, although I'm not sure about Haidayu, but basically all the other main characters that were there, like Serena, Clement, Bonnie, Shinobu, and Nihei, Sanpai even, they were all surprised that this actually happened, except we didn't get anything from Ash. But after Ash Greninja returned back to normal Greninja, that's when Ash was there and he's like, wait, what just happened there? I asked cut, but then of course all that happens. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Hopefully, subs will maybe clarify some things about that. Anyway, after that happens, everyone tries to end up getting back to Ippei and Saizo, the village elder, Kagitamo, and the battle with Kagitamo and Ippei continues. And what I should have expected, of course, is Ippei manages to beat Kagitamo. And Kagitamo apparently has a humbling moment in which Kagitamo cares for his Weavile, for example, and he accepts that he failed in whatever his plan was, and but I'll return to that in a moment. But yeah, Kagitamo just basically accepts defeat at this particular point. So anyway, back at the Ninja Village, Ippei is awarded the Shuriken Trophy of whatever, and I assume that he's like the semi-leader of the Ninja Village, or the champion, or the strongest, something like that, where Ippei is acknowledged as a very important person within the actual Ninja Village. So, of course, later on, Ippei, the village elder, Saizo, talked to Kagitamo and Haidayu. This is where I don't get what happened. Uh, uh, and of course, I maybe be looking at maybe too much into this, but either two possibilities happened, I believe, during this conversation, and of course, I'm definitely probably wrong on both of them. But in my opinion, there are two possibilities what happened. The least likely, given the events, or at least given what Kagitamo's expressions within it with that happened after the defeat or whatever. But the least likely what probably happened was that there was this fake villain ninja faction or whatever, and Kagutama was the leader of it, and it was some final test for maybe Ippei to get the recognition that he deserved. Now, like I said, given Kagutama's expression during the moments of defeat, I think that's the least likely. What I think is more likely is that Kagutama accepts that he wasn't good enough, or whatever the case was, and Ippei forgave him for what he did. So, like, pardoned, basically. Ippei pardoned Kagitamo, and of course, Kagitamo went with his particular ninja faction and to be his own particular ninja village and to not care about what was going on within the ninja village with Hanzo, Ippei, Shinobu, and those particular Pokemon. So I think maybe this means that they're allies or maybe even rivals. I don't know what was being said, but something like that probably happened. If I'm really wrong, I may put notes in the comment section saying how wrong I was when the subs come out or I learn about translations. I'm probably going to try and edit this right after I record this so it can get processed so I can upload it sometime relatively soon or whatever. So I might not be able to know exactly what happened, but anyway, that's pretty much it for now for that particular part. So anyway, The next day, everyone says goodbye to Ash, Ash's Greninja, Pikachu, Clement, Bonnie, and Serena, and they travel on to the next episode, basically. They say goodbye to the village. The ninja village. The village elder. Only the village elder. No, just kidding. Um, so anyway, but back to the Greninja temple place, or whatever you want to call it. They talk about Ash's Greninja becoming Ash Greninja, although they don't actually say Ash Greninja. They just say that it seemed like, I don't know what was specifically said, but they mentioned that Ash's Greninja actually turned into what Hero Greninja was, and of course, the village elders seemed to be really excited by this. I don't know. Again, I don't know what was being said, but I'm thinking maybe this will bring up a Ninja Village arc in the future of some kind. I don't know, like before the league or after the league, where we'll get this like 2 episode arc, 3 episode arc, or whatever the case may be, where of course it'll heavily be revolved around Ash Greninja, and maybe there'll be another villainous ninja team or villain or something like that where Ash has to get involved or something and use Ash Greninja, and because Ash has an Ash Greninja or a Hero Greninja basically, that'll probably resolve the plot going on there. I don't know if that's going to happen though, but it might be interesting to happen. And a bonus scene. I'm not really sure exactly what was going on in this. This happened after Pokemon TV was talking about Frogadier in general, but I think, but I'm not entirely sure, that Ash's Frogadier scales a skyscraper in record time, I guess. I don't know. It was a very weird scene to happen that while they were talking about Frogadier, there was this picture in picture of Frogadier scaling this giant building or whatever, and the record, I believe, was like 58 seconds. And then, of course, this Frogadier, which I think was Ash's Frogadier, given that I think it had Ash's Frogadier's voice of like Yuji Ueda or whatever, and then it like beat that record time. So I don't know what was going on there, but I guess it was an interesting scene. You know, I guess I guess a lot of people are liking these bonus scenes with Pokemon TV, and I can kind of see why they think they're interesting. They're just random animated bits or whatever, and you know, kind of interesting if we got some really meaty bonus scenes like that in the future or whatever. Maybe next one could be about or the one that's about Greninja. Maybe we can get like Ash Greninja battling or something, or showing off its movements or whatever. But anyway, moving on to the thoughts of my episode. I enjoyed this episode, but I think I was too hyped for this episode because I don't think the episode was as epic as I was hoping it was going to be. It was still very good. Really enjoyed it, but I think there was a lack of Ash and his Pokemon, and I would have tweaked the episode so that Ash and Greninja could have received more focus if I was involved or whatever. But it was still a pretty good episode. So yeah, it was really good. So anyway, the my second note here is, while I'm disappointed a little bit that we only saw a glimpse of Ash Greninja, I do think it honestly makes a lot of sense. I have speculated in my previous videos potentially that this was only going to be a taste of Ash Greninja. A lot of people were worried that Ash Greninja was going to just fall into Ash's lap because of everything we knew about this particular episode, but I still believe that this was just going to be a glimpse of Ash Greninja that could potentially have a potential future story arc that might happen in the future. So I guess we'll have to see if that actually happens. Um, in my previous video, when I was talking about this and Welcome to the Ninja Village, I did say that I wanted Ippei to lose to Kagitamo so that Ash could get involved and show off his Ash Greninja and basically kick butt, basically. But that's not what happened in this episode. And to be honest, I'm not as disappointed as I thought I was going to be when Ippei did manage to beat Kagitamo. But I think it actually made sense within the story, if this was about Ippei's test, final test, or to showcase why Ippei was the chosen one of the ninja village, it would make sense that, of course, Ippei would have beaten Kagetamo's Weavile with his own Greninja. However, at the same time, I wish these episodes that focus on Ash's Pokemon evolved would actually focus on them rather than, oh, hey, here you go, evolution time. And the only Pokemon that actually received a lot of focus within the episodes they evolved was, of course, Sliggoo's evolution and, of course, Fletchling's evolution. The episode's heavily dedicated around them a lot of the time. In regards to Fletchling, it was about Fletchling being treated like a inferior Pokemon, and we saw that through that with Bonnie helping Fletchling, and of course, Hawlucha being used and stuff of that nature, and then of course, Fletchling ended up battling against Talonflame and knocking it out as it evolved into Fletchinder and stuff like that. So, and then of course with Sliggoo, of course, it was all about Gumi. The episode was, or not Gumi. The episode was primarily about Sliggoo because Ash sent Sliggoo out against Tierno, and then of course it revolved around Sliggoo, and then eventually Sliggoo evolved into Goodra. But for the other Pokemon like Fletchinder, Froakie, Frogadier, and Gumi, it was like, oh hey, here you go, evolution, there you go, because they really weren't the focus. I mean, Fletchinder kind of got some focus, but Ash used it to battle against Trevor, but then eventually recalled it to its Pokeball, and Ash had to send out Fletchinder again when they were battling against Team Rocket, and then of course Moltres happened, and then it evolved, but it wasn't focused around Fletchinder or Fletchinder. It wasn't revolved around Fletchinder and Talonflame. It was just Fletchinder was just there basically. Same with Gumi's evolution to Sliggoo. I mean, or no, the episode kind of focused around Gumi when it evolved into Sliggoo, but at the same time, it was just mostly about Grumpig and Spoink, and Gumi was there just as oh hey, Gumi's there, okay, evolving or whatever. And the same with Froakie and Frogadier. The episodes where Froakie and Frogadier evolved, they were not the main focus. When Froakie evolved into Frogadier, it was mostly about Senpai's test that Saizo had set up for him. And in this particular episode, it was mostly about a crisis that the Ninja Village happened. So, yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that this actually happened. I would have liked more focus to be done on the Pokemon. And speaking of which, when Noibat evolves, I'm really hoping that they do that with Noibat and that they give it a lot of focus. I'm not happy that it's going to evolve the way that it does, but if the episode solely focuses on Noibat, nothing else but Noibat focus, Noibat is battling against Greninja or Hawlucha or Talonflame, or whatever the case is, using off moves, and then Noibat is used against a battle. Noibat loses, Ash comforts Noibat, something happens, Noibat gets captured, Ash goes after it. Something like Gligar evolving into Gliscor is what I want. Because when Gligar evolved into Gliscor, that whole entire episode was between Gligar and Ash. So something like that is what I want for Noibat. What I don't want is what's probably going to happen is that Noibat's just going to appear, Ash or someone's going to be in trouble, and Noibat's going to be like, oh, hey, I can evolve. I'm evolving. Here I am as a Noivern. I use a powerful attack. Bye-bye, enemies. That's something that I don't want. But I expect it to happen. So anyway, my other note here is I'm eager to see what the future holds for Ash and Greninja and his other Pokemon. Noibat, Hawlucha, Talonflame, even Ash's potential 6th slot. Whether it's Goodra coming back or a Pokemon coming from Oak's laboratory, maybe evolved, maybe we'll see like Typhlosion or Crocona or Gabite. Who knows what we'll see in the future. But it'll be interesting to see what will happen. And I don't really want to talk about it right now, but I will discuss it later, but basically I'm hoping that Ash and Greninja only focus on Team Flare and random bits and potentially the League. What I kind of want, but it's probably not going to happen, is I don't want Greninja to get a lot of focus in the gym battle with against Wolfric. I just don't want that to happen. I want that to be like Noibat, Noivern's gym battle and nothing else, but whatever. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have to think about the thoughts of the Pokemon in question and relating to this episode and the future, whatever. So there are some other thoughts rattling in my head about what's going on or stuff, whatever. But of course, I'm gonna have to wait until subs or translations of this episode. And I still have to think about other things. But yeah, I'll probably talk about them in other videos when they come up. So anyway, now, of course, let's move on to, of course, the Eevee preview episode. But as a side note here, Yashio, or as dub anime only fans probably would know her as, I believe her name is Palermo, and she appeared in Serena's first showcase as a manager, kind of like, I guess, the Simon Cowell of Pokemon showcases, maybe, or something like that, the head of Pokemon showcases or something like that. I don't know what she is, but she will appear in this particular episode. But if I mention her again, I'm going to call her Yashio because I think Palermo is a kind of a weird name to give to someone like that. And it might not actually be Palermo. I didn't exactly check to make sure if that was her real name. Maybe it's like Palermio or something like that. But anyway, I do apologize if it's not Palermo. Anyway, from what we got from the preview and all the 5 scenes that I'll probably show something like this is in the first scene we see Serena and Pancham doing something with cooking. So I don't know if they're making poffins or they're just cooking, or maybe they're cooking and making music and doing something fun or something like that, but there is something involved with cooking. So that's, of course, the theme performance. And, of course, next scene we see Ninny, Smoochum, and Farfetch doing their free performance. Ninny is, of course, rolling in the air, I'm guessing, to Smoochum's psychic abilities. And, then, of course, we see Serena, Braixen, and Pancham comfort Eevee. This scene is cute because Braixen is actually petting Eevee in the beginning, trying to comfort it, and it's just really cute. Aw, Braixen, because, the Fennekin line is my favorite 6th gen starter line. I just don't like the fact that Serena has a Fennekin line going on for it, just because I thought it would have been epic if Ash had a Fennekin line, but, whatever. Whatever, I'm over it, but still, it was still pretty cute to see Braixen doing something like that. It's just showing off how cute the Fennekin line is in general. Despite that, a lot of people hate Delphox for whatever reason. Whatever. Anyway, moving on. There was a scene of Jesse doing something like that, but I don't know if I'm going to get a screenshot of that. But Jesse was doing something with Meowth, I think, and it was about the cooking. So we don't know if Jesse's going to pass the theme performance. But anyway, then we next see something of Eevee cosplaying as Shaman. Only kidding, but that costume that Eevee is wearing, it doesn't really have appeal for me. I think it's like over excessive. It is cute in some way because Eevee is wearing it and Eevee's pretty cute as it is. So it's still kind of cute, but for whatever reason, the costume just doesn't sit well with me. I feel like it would have been better if Eevee had a different costume on, but I guess we'll have to see when the episode happens or whatever later on, but I still think it's a little too much for me. But anyway, then basically the last scene confirms that Braixen and Eevee are doing something with the free performance, while of course Pancham did something in the theme performance. So anyway, and then I have some questions here. Will Serena win her final princess key? Will Jessie, or will Ninny? And why is Yashio in this episode? What's her role? These are the things we'll have to find out in the next episode. And there's not a lot I can discuss here. I think there's an equal chance of Serena beating everyone and getting her final Princess Key, but at the same time, there's an equal opportunity that Serena will not get her Princess Key. Personally, I feel like it would make more sense for Serena to lose the contest here and give the key to either Nini or Jesse, and then have Yashio interact with Serena in some sort of fashion or whatever. Or maybe because Yashio probably knows that Serena jumped into her next two showcases after loss and wins, maybe Yashio is expecting something big from Serena to win her Pokemon showcase here so that she can get her Princess Key. And it does make sense if Serena is regarded as Yashio as someone who potentially could surpass Arya or even could become the next Kalos Queen. It kind of makes sense that Serena would win her Princess Key here, and of course, then win the Master Class. But if there's going to be any sort of realism, although I suppose winning without losing is realistic in some instances, uh, it may not be something that everyone can have or whatever, but I'm sure there's some people out there that have gone into competitions undefeated all the way through and won the final tournament or whatever. So it's at least possible that Serena could, after her loss, change it and, of course, pull out, of course, winning all these showcases in a row and becoming Kalos Queen. But I still would like it to extend a little bit, just because Serena has a really half baked role. Who knows what's going to happen after her masterclass, after she wins or loses? If there's still a year and a half at this particular point of Pokemon, what is she going to do for that year and a half after the Pokemon League? So I feel like extending a little bit more would make more sense for the narrative of the X, Y, and Z series. So I'm kind of expecting, hoping that Serena loses here. Um, and then in the next Pokemon Showcase, that's the one she'll win. And then right after that, we'll get, of course, the Master Class or something like that. So anyway, before I finish this particular video, there's just one little bitty note that I want to talk about, but of course there's some other things that I want to talk about first, but I will get to that final note or whatever. So before I do, I want to say that there will be a video coming within the next week in regards to Pokemon, and it'll of course be revolving around Koro Koro. Koro Koro should be released within a few days approximately, and I of course will be making a video at that particular point revolving around Koro Koro. Even if it's not anime related or not big Pokemon game news or whatever, even if it's just about the Mega Sceptile, Pokken, or whatever, Pokken, what, Pokken tournament, the game or whatever, regardless if it's about Mega Sceptile, or Sceptile, or even if it's about Pokemon Picross or their introduced Pokemon Tetris of some sort, whatever is going on with Koro, I will be making a video of it. May not be all that exciting because it may not interest me, but I'm really hoping that it'll be something very big that we can really talk about and have a conversation. So if you go to like Cerebi and there's just a few pages of Pokemon Picross and Pokken tournament or something like that, and maybe Pokemon Tetris that they're coming out with, maybe, or something of that nature. Don't expect a very long discussion, but I will discuss whatever's going on with Koro. Also, as a disclaimer, whatever Cerebi puts on its site in regards to Koro scans is all that I'm going to talk about. So if there's only one page on Cerebi, then that's the only thing I'm going to discuss. However, I will probably try to make the discussion revolving around that particular thing. So if it's just about the Pokken tournament, I will discuss things about Sceptile and what I think of the game itself or whatever, my opinions of it, even though I don't have it. But yeah, I'll discuss whatever I can. So anyway, So before next Thursday, probably after this video, between this video and when I do the Eevee review episode, there'll probably be another video, and it'll probably be revolving around Koro and whatever happens or whatever. So anyway, there is some bad news for Pokemon anime fans. Naruto will of course be having a 1 hour special on January 7th to make up for the 1 hour special of Pokemon that happened on October 29th. So I'm assuming the episodes will resume on January 14th, but of course, after the Terminus episode on December 24th, there's going to be a long 3 week wait for another episode. I mean, there's a 2 week gap in the sense that it'll be this week that will be off, and then it'll be this week that'll be off, and then of course we'll get the episode, but we still have to wait like 21 days before the next episode comes out. So after December 24th, expect 21 days before we get another episode of Pokemon. So it's going to be a long wait. We're going to have to wait nearly a month for a new episode, which is pretty bad news, but hopefully by then all the subs of all the cool episodes of XY&Z will be released by then, and maybe you can rewatch some of the previous episodes of Pokemon to make up for that. But there will be some discussion going on that will probably be important, and of course I've slightly hinted at this in a previous video, but the one final thing that I want to discuss in this video before I end this, of course, is uncover all the mysteries, the Pocket Monsters XY&Z complete overview special that is airing December 31st. So while we're not getting an episode on the 31st, we're getting a special. Not necessarily a very exciting special, because it's going to be basically the last few minutes that is going to be the important thing. But probably throughout the entire special and stuff like that, we may get some really interesting things. But anyway, this is a 2 hour special. The first hour will be, of course, a repeat of October 29th with, of course, Mega Evolution Act 4 and the first episode of the XY&Z series. That'll be the first hour. Then, of course, the second half will be about what the series. We'll go over the series so far, ending with the most important aspect and the thing that I will be making a video on. And of course, it'll be this information. What is the secret that the never-before-seen legendary Pokemon Zygarde hides? What is the mysterious phenomenon that only happens to Ash Greninja? In regards to Zygarde, we should get some information in regards to that in the 24th episode, but I feel like the mysterious phenomenon will be more explained for upcoming episodes. And of course, what are the goals of Alon and the mysterious organization Team Flare who stand in Ash and his friend's way? Maybe Alon will appear in the 24th episode of X, Y, and Z. Who knows? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But the really interesting thing here is if you watch this special, you'll get a thorough understanding of the highlights of the new series. As a special bonus, we'll also present upcoming developments of interest. Ash and Alon finally clash. The evil organization Team Flare versus Team Rocket, and Serena's Tri-Pokelons or showcases, which might include another Pokemon showcase where she gets her final Princess Key if she loses, or it's probably in reference to Master Class if she does get her Princess Key. So then, of course, Pokemon Monsters X, Y, and Z will be filled with excitement next year as well. Don't miss Ash and Friends' super thrilling adventures. So the upcoming preview that I mentioned in a previous video will happen around New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, or whatever, and of course I will make a discussion about that. Since Japan is ahead of us, and this will probably air around the same time, I'm expecting that, of course, the 31st, sometime between the 31st and the 1st, in the United States, Mountain Time potentially, I'm going to be uploading a video about this. So, of course, early 31st, we're probably going to, early in the day of the 31st is probably when we'll get that information or whatever. So I think that's when I'll discuss everything like that. So, of course, we got some exciting things happening. We have 2 more episodes of this year before we have to wait nearly a month before we get any new episode of anything. But I do expect, maybe not next week, but probably around December 24th, we'll probably get the first title of Pokemon X, Y, and Z of 2016. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully it'll be Team Flare relating, or maybe it'll be Noibat related, Wolfric related. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So anyway, I think that covers about everything. As I expected, this is a 45-minute video. So anyway, thank you for watching. I'm Dustin Benzel, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.